So I'd like to welcome everybody to today's webinar, which is on the 6th stage of the 10 stages of the journey of the soul. And this is a very, very profound stage. It's purely spiritual. And so I think we're going to have a fun next 1 hour exploring all the symbols of the 6th stage and trying to understand them, because remember that the 6th stage comes before stage 7, which is the stage of paradise. And the stage of paradise is something that, accomplished souls get to. Many choose just remain there. Then there's a few that go to 8, 9, and 10, which I hope and pray that all those include everyone here today. But just to give you a recap, the 10 stages of the soul, I wrote it in my first book as a metaphorical journey. But each metaphor has very deep meaning, and we have explored the meanings of stages 1 up to 5. So it starts with me walking down an old Arabian street, and there's cobblestones, and I keep walking, and everything is buildings of old facades. And then I come to this one building where there is a door which is slightly ajar, and there is cobwebs on it. So it's clear that no one has gone through that door in a very long time. Something causes me to push the door open. And when I do, I see ahead of me a staircase. But it's dark. So my first reaction is turn around and run. But somehow I can't do that. Something pushes me in, and I step onto the first step, and from the sides of the walls, I hear the sounds of a marketplace. People, animals, noise, chaos, everything coming from the sides of the wall. And this is stage 1, and this is the stage of our material world, the marketplace that we all live in. And then I move up one more step, and everything goes silent. Second step, silent. On stage 3, I hear the sound of water dripping with regularity in a pail. That's stage 2. And then I go 3 more steps up, and I hear the sounds of an old grandfather clock ticking away with precision. And all this time, remember, I'm only hearing what's coming from the sides of the walls. Then I go 3 more steps, and I reach the 4th stage, where I hear children playing in the playfield. As I look ahead and I see these steps, the scientist in me always is curious, wants to count. So I count, and there's 66 steps, and then there's a wall of darkness. Then I climb 3 more steps to the 5th stage, where I hear the sounds of a waterfall. It's as if I'm in the middle of this very powerful waterfall. And I look ahead and I count, but there's still 66 steps. Nothing's changed. I climb 3 more steps to the 6th stage, where I hear the sounds of monks chanting in a temple. Beautiful sound, very peaceful, very nice. And again, the number of steps doesn't change. It's still 66, regardless of what I'm climbing. Then I climb 3 more steps, and I hear the sounds of a beach, an ocean, coming to shore on a beach, palm trees rustling, very peaceful, a place where you just want to stop and rest forever. And then I climb 3 more steps, and I hear the sounds of an orchestra. I've never heard this kind of music ever before. Every instrument is in complete harmony. This music is not of our world. It's so, so perfect. And that's the 8th stage. And then I climb 3 more steps, and I hear the sounds of the ocean, as if I'm at the bed at the bottom of the ocean. And now I can still hear the orchestra as well, and I'm at the bottom of the ocean. And then finally 3 more steps, and I hear the orchestra, I hear the sounds of water moving around me at the bottom of the ocean, and now I hear the sound of dolphins. Beautiful sound, chanting away. And now when I look ahead of me, I see at the end of the 66 steps, there's a door, and behind the door is a light. Now, when I look ahead, this light, normally in a dark staircase, if you open the door, would fill the staircase. It doesn't. It stays behind the door. And I hear this very powerful voice from within me, and I write in my book, I call it the voice of thunder. And the voice of thunder says, you've reached the 10th stage. Explain to us what each of these stages means. And I said, oh, voice of thunder, I don't know. And I'm reminded, you do know because you wouldn't be here. Relate. And now I'm worried. And I go, voice of thunder, I don't know. And then the third time I'm asked, and it's like a veil was lifted from before my eyes. And so I explained that I come from a world of chaos, thousands of events, material life, which is the first stage, the marketplace, which I have discussed with you all in great detail. And then I rise to the second stage of the dripping tap, so my focus has gone from thousands of events down to one singular event, which is the dripping of water. And the reason it's water is because water is the essence of life. And then I climb 3 more steps, and now I hear the sounds of an old grandfather clock, which symbolizes the fact that I'm still in one singular event. There it was the dripping of the tap of water. Here it is the ticking of the clock. But whereas I can see water dripping, I cannot see time that this clock represents. And so this is where I've gone from the seen to the unseen. And again, I've explained this stage and the second stage to you all in great detail. And you can actually go and listen to the videos where they're all out from stages 1 up to stages 5. The next stage, I'm in this playground. And this is because after the third stage, I am gone through a transformation where I am innocent like a child again. It's almost like a new birth, but it's a new phase of my journey. And the playing children, laughing, innocence, this is all symbolic of me starting a new stage in my journey. And at the 5th stage, I hear the sounds of the waterfall, because at the 4th stage I begin as the river. 2nd stage I started as the droplet. 4th stage I become the river. And this river flows with abundance and grows, and it reaches the waterfall, and the waterfall is completely pure, because when water flows with that energy, it's totally pure. So at the 5th stage I'm in an abundance of purity. And in our last webinar, I explained all the symbolisms of this stage. Today we will talk about the 6th stage, which is the monks chanting in a temple. And I said, oh, voice of thunder, these monks and this temple, I realize, is in fact, the temple is my body. The sound of the monks, the chanting of the monks, is the first time I'm hearing my inner voice with complete clarity. And then at the 7th stage, I am at paradise. Everything is so peaceful, so perfect, so beautiful. I, the river, have reached right in front of the ocean. And it's a place where I'm so fatigued, I just want to stop and rest. But I keep going. And I reach the 8th stage of the orchestra with all instruments in perfect harmony. This is the stage of zero conflict. And a very difficult stage for all souls that have tried. And the voice says, yes, most souls stop at stage 7. Then there is very few that have the courage and conviction to cross the 8th stage, which is the most difficult, because it is the stage of zero conflict. And we as human beings cannot even start to imagine what zero conflict is. So how can we cross that? But at post the 8th stage, I hear the sounds of the ocean after I've crossed. I'm at the bottom of the ocean. So I started as a droplet, became a river, and now I've become the ocean. I've become totality. I don't have a physical form like I did in the sixth stage, which was the temple. Now my form is gone. I am totality. I am the ocean. And the 10th stage is where I hear the dolphins, and the dolphins are the monks of the ocean. They are the monks of totality. They are the monks that are far more advanced than the monks I heard at the 6th stage. And then I'm told you can cross and you can climb up the 66 steps, which I do. And as I cross that door of light, the last things I hear, the last words are, "You are no longer you. That is your fulfillment." And what lies behind that door is only something we can experience. There's no words to put it in vocabulary, because there's no vocabulary. Our vocabulary is restricted to 3 dimensions. How can you start describing that which is of infinite dimensions, that which is eternal, that which has no beginning, no end, that is ever continuous? It's impossible. So our goal, as we learn about these stages, is to build ourselves so that we can rise, and each one of us can reach that 10th stage, and with the grace, with the blessing of the Creator, we can cross that door of light. And this is my humble prayer for all of you. So today, I'd like to cover the 6th stage. Now, as I explained about stage 5, this is where the river becomes a waterfall, the river that started in stage 4. And the river grew through union with many streams and many other rivers. That's what made the river grow. That's the basis of its growth. And we also learned in stage 5 where the river gains its power of flow, because it comes from a high altitude down to a low altitude, and that's how it gains its power of flow. And going from high to very low is indeed a symbol of pure humility. And we discussed the power of humility in quite a lot of detail. So now, let's move to stage 6. Because by this stage, the river has grown. It has gained the power of flow, and it has become absolutely pure. So what happens at stage 6? At stage 6, I hear the soft chanting of monks in a temple. It's a small temple, and there are no more than a dozen monks. I can tell this because from the sound of their chants, there are no echoes, so it's a small temple. There are no reverberations that would come from a large room. This one is cozy, and I sense it is not dark nor bright in the temple. There is an even light. And this light comes from candles in the walls, nested in niches. So all these candles produce an even light. Now, what is this temple? What does it signify? Let's look at the qualities of this temple. The first one is that a temple is a holy place of worship. It is sacred. It is a place of peace and calm. A temple is always spotless and clean, maintained by the loving service of all those that come to pray and maintain this place, that they come to honor their Creator. A temple is a place of unified and united service. And this temple in particular stands out on its own in isolation. There's nothing but nature around it. And there is a special dimension of uniqueness to this temple, because there is no other temple in this world or wherever that is exactly like it. And this makes it very remarkable. So at the 6th stage, I realize that the temple is in fact my physical body. The body that has served my soul as it experiences and grows in this exalted stage, the 6th stage. And my physical body projects all the qualities of the temple I've just mentioned. Now let us try to understand the parallel between the human body and the temple further. The first is that my body is absolutely unique to me. There is no other being with the same fingerprints as me, the same cells as me, the same genetic makeup as me. My body is absolutely unique, one of a kind. And we are all blessed with this body from the moment we are conceived. We have lived with our body in the marketplace in stage 1 and all the stages, but in stage 1 where we have used and abused our body to unimaginable levels, from drugs to alcohol to ingestion of hallucinogens to ingestion of toxins to very unhealthy lifestyles, extreme stress, damaging stress. And we have really abused what is so sacred because we don't know better. And our body is made of 85% plus water. And our negative thoughts and consciousness have also done untold damage to our bodies. And I've explained to you in the past the works of Masaru Emoto, who took petri dishes, put some water in it, and put a thought, a message, love, gratitude, I hate you, I will kill you, all these types of messages. Drop the temperature to minus 12 or minus 20, I'm not sure, and the water becomes ice. And then he photographed the crystals that formed in the water. And you can look up his work online. Where there was love, gratitude, harmony, prayer, the water formed perfect crystalline structures. They were beautiful to look at. And where there was hate, chaos, I will kill you, there was absolutely no structure to that water. Now, if our body is 85% water, can you imagine what negative thoughts can do? They can destroy our organs. They can destroy our being within the physical being. And so again, at this marketplace, our body has gone through and suffered a lot of abuse. Now, you can look up, we have a video called The Power of Knowledge, where I've explained Masaru Emoto's works and even shown pictures, and please visit that video. So the truth is that your body is your only companion throughout your journey. You have nobody but your body. And this companion serves you faithfully, regardless of what you do. And when it can't take any more abuse, it starts to disintegrate. Sickness sets in. Then we do all we can to buy just a little more time. We go and take all kinds of medications. We have all kinds of surgeries because we have damaged this body to that point. But doesn't it all seem backwards? Here you are, blessed with a body that is absolutely unique to you. No one, and I mean no one, has what you have. This uniqueness of the body is even synonymous with the dimension of the Creator. When the scriptures say, and I quote, "There is none like unto him." At a pure cellular level, your body projects that very attribute, that unique dimension, even of the Creator. So it's not just a material object, it's sacred, it's a temple. And when you reach stage 6, the body is revealed to you at a new level. It is shown to you via the stature of a sacred temple. So you have to reach that point, you have to pass the waterfall, you have to grow, to recognize your body as the sacred temple. But recognizing it deep down within, you don't need words to tell you that it is so. And this is a body, this is a temple that you must care for, appreciate, and love. And this stage 6 offers a totally new outlook towards your body. And as a result of that, the purpose of your life, of all those at 6th stage, changes. And we will look at how it changes. Because beings of the 6th stage care for their body with pure love, gratitude, and strength in all respects. Now, even if you're at stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3, knowing the sacred nature of your body, if you start respecting it and start working with it as if it were your temple, you will rise very fast. This is why it doesn't matter what stage you are at. Treat your body with gratitude and strength in all respects. And being of the sixth stage, enjoy all the good things that life offers in the correct measure, and they never cross the line where use becomes abuse. So it's not saying don't enjoy the good things in life, sure do. But there is use and there is abuse, and we need wisdom to know that we should not cross the line from use to abuse. Most scriptures emphasize the importance of the body and its sacred nature. You will find it in all the scriptures. Even the Bhagavad Gita talks about the sattva nature of caring for the body, through pure thoughts, through nutrition, physical exercise, and more. Now, when you reach stage 6, you realize and understand this sacred nature of your body, and you begin to treat it accordingly. In fact, I was flying one time from Saudi Arabia to Dubai, and there was a gentleman sitting next to me. And he was about my age, but something remarkable about him. And so he and I got into a conversation. And he had a habit of coming really close to you when he spoke. And what was strange was, and I have a very sensitive nose, is he came really close to me as he was talking, but I could not smell any odor in his breath. There was no odor coming from his mouth, which is rare. He wasn't even wearing a fragrance on his clothes, but I could get a hint of what I call a totally neutral body fragrance. It was less neutral. There was nothing offensive at all. And I recognized at that point that this man was of the sixth stage, with a makeup of sattva in his diet, behavior, cleanliness, and everything. So at the sixth stage, when you've learned and recognized all this, you take on a new life purpose based on the knowledge of the sacred body. Now, what is that? So people of the sixth stage, souls of the sixth stage, gain the ability to heal the bodies and minds and emotions of others. They become healers. Again, the abilities to heal, because they now recognize the beauty, sanctity, and power of their own temple, and they recognize what it takes to create that temple, and therefore they become healers. They are blessed with that knowledge. They are granted the opportunity to serve others as healers, carers, doctors, people that offer loving care and guidance to others. Then they don't stop with healing the bodies of human beings or minds. They heal water, they heal nature, they heal all creation. Beings of the sixth stage bring a great deal of peace and healing to this world. They heal through unconditional love. And such beings are very much needed in our world, and that's why they are there. And their power of healing comes from the recognition and respect of the temple that serves their soul. Now, if you are at the sixth stage and you say, "But I'm not a healer, so I can't be at the sixth stage," no, that's not so. Many at the sixth stage do not use those powers of healing, but they can if they wanted to. Others are awakened to the calling to help and heal. So people at the sixth stage have the capability, they are blessed to even cure cancers or terminal illnesses, and even recreate damaged or poorly formed organs. They are capable of changing minds of darkness to temples and abodes of light, and thus being able to heal a wide range of mental illnesses too, and depression. Beings of the sixth stage have surrendered their ego and gained pure humility in the fifth stage, where they became the waterfall, and this adds more power to their ability to heal. They will never take personal credit for people getting well through their help. They attribute everything to their Creator. That's humility. And in addition to fostering healing, beings of the sixth stage have several new life purposes because of the state they have reached spiritually, mentally, intellectually. So what are the other new life purposes that beings of the sixth stage are blessed with? Let's explore some of them. When you go to a temple or church or mosque, or even just the forest to pray, you invoke help from the Creator. That very place where you invoke such help is in fact sacred. And the Creator answers your prayers through others. He sends people in your life to help you in ways that actually do answer your prayers. And most of us don't even realize that this is happening. Since you are the temple at the sixth stage, people come to you in search of hope and healing and help. And since the Creator answers prayers through His instruments, you are now one of His instruments. You are empowered to love, help, and heal, and serve in whatever way is required of you. Next, the temple is a place of hope, where people go to find strength. They go to seek easing of their difficulties and turmoil. Beings of the sixth stage spread light of hope through their thoughts, energies, and knowledge, which is why when people are in difficulty, they tend to be attracted to some people again versus others. It's because they gain that peace and light of hope from such people, and they don't even know why. Next, a temple is a place of refuge in times of danger. People seek refuge in temples or mosques or churches, for example, because they trust that they will be safe in the house of the Creator. Souls of the sixth stage have the power through prayer to dispel even danger. So they become a source of refuge to others. People turn to them and they don't even know why. They are humble, hidden lanterns whose light keeps people safe. They are an unseen refuge that protects others through their prayers and their power of being. Those are beings of the sixth stage. And finally, while we're still at the temple, a temple is a place where people go to baptize their children, or make their wedding oaths, or promises of a solemn nature. They do so because they recognize the sanctity of this place, where the Creator is present as a witness. So beings of the sixth stage are solemn witnesses to the actions of others, and they will never judge them, and to the unfolding of life itself with all its good, bad, and indifferent. They are honest and fair witnesses, and they inspire confidence in others because of their impartiality and fairness. When you go to a church or a mosque or a temple or any sacred place to make an oath, you do so believing in the fairness, honesty, and impartiality of the place you are making your oath. Such are beings of the sixth stage. So you can see the role of the temple, the body, how advanced that soul has become, that it is blessed with such purposes and such capabilities. Each one of us can have them. Some of us have them, we are not aware of it. But as we reflect on each of these 10 stages, one of the stages will resonate with you and you will know where you are. So this is the sixth stage. And like I said earlier, it's not something unachievable. It's not something that only others have gotten to. It's something you can reach. It's something you may have reached. It's something you may have even transcended. And through the blessing of the Creator, you are being awakened. So that's the role of the temple. Now let us come to the monks, which is the next part. Who are these monks? Why are they a symbol of the sixth stage? What are their characteristics? So friendly angels Cyrus and Luminous, they take us to witness a dialogue with monks in a temple in Tibet. And the temple stands on a tall rock cliff, and the only way to get to it is via a narrow walking path. It oversees the spectacular Himalayan landscape and stands out like a beacon amidst the tall mountain peaks. The head of the temple is an elderly Buddhist monk by the name of Aryan. And he has a long gray beard, and everything about him spells wisdom, pure wisdom. He has 7 other monks who live in the temple and help him with its care. And the congregation that comes to the temple includes the local folk who live in scattered homes in the mountains, as well as tourists who come from all over the world to experience the peace and tranquility that this place offers. So we are now looking at the monks. And remember, it's the monks who are chanting. So if your body is the temple, what the monks represent is the quality of the thoughts that are born in this temple. And let's look at the quality of those thoughts. So Cyrus says to Aryan, I see there is 8 of you. Why 8? And Aryan replies, the number 8 is the number of strength that binds 2 circles together like the link of a chain. So it is a linkage symbol with the light of the Creator. That's its spiritual dimension. At a material level, 8 is an unbreakable symbol. Try breaking that chain link. You can't. So our temple here is one of pure light and strength. Hence we are 8. And Aryan says, nature also confirms this because our temple is surrounded by 7 snow-covered peaks and structures that look like mountain peaks. The 8th structure is the river. And this river flows through the valley and connects all the 7 peaks at their feet. So these 8 structures of nature symbolize strength and majesty. So he says, together, we 8 monks represent these 8 structures. So let me guess, Luminous said, you are the river. You are the 8th structure. And Aryan nodded with humility. He said, I weave the 7 structures together with my water, the pure essence of life. So Luminous asks, does that give you power over the 7 structures? Aryan replied, no. It gives me the ability to unite them all and keep them together. So think of me as the hidden flowing roots. That's a beautiful and very humble way to put it, Cyrus said. You tie them together, but you seek to remain unnoticed, like the roots of a tree. That's pure humility. And according to Cyrus and Luminous, that river is in fact the soul anchor of the soul of the temple. And that's Aryan. That's his symbol. So he says, tell us some more about the characteristics that the 8 of you represent. What are they? Because we want to get a sense of what kind of thoughts are born in the temple, in the body, in the minds of the 6th stage. What are they? Aryan replied, monks have unique characteristics that we project and we live by. So this is getting interesting, Luminous says. Tell us about these characteristics. So Aryan looked at his 7 companions who nodded, granting him permission to discuss their characteristics and role. So he points to the first monk and says, tell us about why you are here. So the first monk replies, I am committed to the service of my Creator. Whatever I think, whatever I say, whatever I do is governed by this fundamental purpose, to serve my Creator and His creation. Okay. So service is the first one, Aryan said. He pointed to the next monk, because remember we talked about service in the 5th stage. So here is a continuation of service. So the next monk, the second monk says, I focus on prayer and worship. That's my purpose. So Luminous asked, what exactly does that include? What is prayer and worship? So the second monk replied, I pray for the well-being of all humanity and all creation. This is my way of giving myself to all creation through my spiritual service. So Luminous wanted to check that the second monk had actually fully engaged his intellect in this process, because everybody can talk about prayer and worship. You know, what was his understanding of it? So Luminous asks, he's trying to challenge him. He says, when you worship your Creator, do you just go about praising Him to keep Him happy? The monk shyly shook his head and said, that's not worship. Luminous said, The Creator doesn't have the human attribute of ego that you could praise and inflate. So what exactly does your worship achieve? What does worship mean to you? The monk replied, worship to me is invoking the name and omnipotent powers of the Creator towards serving a purpose that is completely unselfish. That to me is worship. Wow, I should repeat that. He says, worship to me is invoking the name and omnipotent powers of the Creator towards serving a purpose that is completely unselfish. That to me is worship. The monk continued, remember, when I pray for someone, I am in fact praying to my Creator that resides in him or her. That to me is worship. He says to Luminous, when your hometown is under siege and you call upon the help of a powerful general whose army is standing by to protect you, you don't need to praise the general. You simply ask him for help with complete faith that he will come through for you. That to me is worship. Wow, Cyrus said, that is such a beautiful way to describe worship, an invocation based on complete faith. So if you think of the invocations that are born in the minds of beings of the sixth stage, this is how powerful and how rooted they are in deep understanding of why they do what they do. So Aryan said, worship is number 2. And you can see that whatever we do here, amongst us 8 of us, we do understand why we do what we do. We don't just blindly perform. Next he pointed to the third monk, who said, I strive to practice ethics as revealed by the Creator in the scriptures and spiritual teachings. So Luminous smiled again. He was testing him. He said, and how exactly do you do this? How do you practice ethics? The third monk replied, my ethics come from the statement of universal truth, which says, I am you, you are me, and together we are everything. My ethics are grounded in this statement. So if I love you, and I am you, and you are me, I'm loving myself. If I hurt you, I'm hurting myself. So the statement of universal truth is my fundamental grounding of my ethics. And he says, like most human beings of today, I do not have one set of standards that applies to me and another set that applies to everyone else. Excellent, Luminous says. So Aryan says, ethics is number 3. And we constantly explore the depth of prescribed ethics within the context of our world today. So they're not practicing ethics just based on what they read, beings of the sixth stage. These ethics are born within them through the statement of universal truth. They actually live the statement of universal truth, which is, I am you, you are me, and together we are everything. So that monk really put it nicely for us. Then Luminous said, you all are no ordinary monks. He says, you are scholars of the school of life and the soul. You learn through being flexible rather than rigidly sticking to ancient writings. He said, I am impressed. So remember, when you engage the intellect, you could take something written 2,000 years ago, but make it relevant to you today. And that's what happens in the minds of the people of the sixth stage. That's what happens in that temple of theirs. Next he points to the fourth monk, who says, I strive to achieve purity of the body, mind, and emotions. I strive to achieve purity of the body, mind, and emotions. So Luminous is curious because this sounds like a motherhood statement. So he wants to test him. And he says, that's a rather tall order to live by, isn't it? How do you put it into practice? The fourth monk replied, I practice constant learning by reflecting carefully on every experience. He said, I seek out the positive and negative traits that I can find in every experience, and then I consciously work towards correcting the negative ones and building on the positive ones. And after that, I share my learnings with others so that they don't have to go through the same mistakes I did. So Luminous asked, Can you give us an example of how you practice such constant learning? And the fourth monk replies, I can do that with an example. He said, let's consider an example of what happens when you look at a beautiful woman who is the wife of another man, and you feel a sense of attraction towards her. You have a desire for her, for example, of a sexual nature. And let us say that she is responsive towards you, which makes you feel flattered. It's a nice, encouraging feeling, isn't it? But he says, in this simple situation, we could find a number of aspects that could cast a stain on your being, that could impact the purity of your being, such as coveting the wife of another, even through thought. And worse still, visualizing a sexual encounter with her. This drops your vibrations from a significantly high level, brings you down, because what you are visualizing is impure by its very nature. If this woman were your wife, that would be completely fine. But she is not. She's someone else's wife. She's someone else's daughter. Your Creator resides in her. Thinking of her in such a lustful manner, in my view, is impure. And my constant learning teaches me that. Next, he says, the thrill you feel, just because she is positively responsive towards you, it encourages you to act on your feelings and approach her physically. He said, this is very dangerous, because such actions are always followed by consequences to her, yourself, and your families and loved ones. So the consequences are devastating, or can be. And in this simple example, you can see how your thoughts and feelings can be impure, and furthermore, that they can drive you towards acting out what is certainly not right. So the fourth monk continued, I reflect on all events in my life in this manner. I test my feelings and reactions and thoughts and learn from them, so that the next event that comes along of a similar nature, I automatically avoid entertaining the very idea. That's how I learn constantly. This is how I keep my body, mind, and emotions pure, he said. So Luminous laughed and said, I love your example, and I can see how you govern your thoughts and actions with logic based on first principles. Did you study science at school? Luminous asked him. The fourth monk smiled and replied, no, I simply follow universal logic. Cyrus looked at Luminous and said, at the sixth stage, the thoughts that are born in the temple of the beings of the sixth stage are pure, rational, logical, and in keeping with changing times. That's impressive. Next, Aryan smiled at the fifth monk, who said, I focus on being a teacher who spreads knowledge and light. I read and learn from the scriptures. I also draw knowledge by listening intently to the life stories and experiences of others. I speak to all those who come to the temple, and I share teachings and stories with them, and I discuss their thoughts. And this is how I spread knowledge. I do it more by engaging with people and interacting with them, rather than simply reading scripts to them that they may or may not understand or may find boring. That's not the way to teach. I teach through engagement. And I am a good listener, and that's how I gain my knowledge, through listening, which I can then share. And he said, I believe in spreading knowledge through two-way engagement. Cyrus said, that's a great way to spread knowledge and light. Engage with everybody. So Aryan motioned to the sixth monk, who said, my goal is to physically serve all my fellow creation, be they human beings, plants, animals, and all of nature. And how do you do that? Luminous asked. The monk replied, when anyone needs help, they come to me. And this help can include assistance with small and large chores. It can be simple things and they can be complicated things. I do my best to work with them hand in hand as their friend, with no expectation of payment of any sort. I'm here to help people of all ages as their friend. Lumina said, that's very smart, because by being their friend and helper, you build deeper relationships with everyone, and you gain a closer place in their homes and hearts. That's very clever. And through this connection, the rest of your 7 colleagues here are also able to do their work better. He said, you strategized your role really well. I love this approach. You are the ambassador of goodwill for this temple. Aryan nodded, smiled, and then he looked at the 7th monk, who said, I am here to spread happiness. Life in this world gets so difficult, and there's always plenty of reasons to be sad and upset. I smile at people of all ages and races and wherever they come from, and I try to bring positive energy into their space. With little children, I become a child. I sing and play with them. I fix their toys. I make new ones with them. With adults, I share jokes and I do little things to perk up their spirits. When they are struggling, I call upon my 7 colleagues to join in and help. When people get into arguments and fights, I gently step in to mediate with love. I do all I can to bring happiness and dispel conflict. Lumina said, I can see from your beaming smile that you have touched many hearts in a beautiful way. You too are an ambassador of goodwill. So beings of the 7th stage are ambassadors of goodwill. They are friends to people. They are genuine, and they help. They spread happiness. So Cyrus and Luminous both looked at Aryan now, who is the 8th structure. And he said, I am simply the river that flows amidst the roots of the 7 mountains, unifying them, nourishing them, and connecting them with the ocean infinite. For that's where I rose from, and that's where I culminate. Cyrus said, my deepest respects to you, my dear friend. You are the spiritual anchor of this temple. And Aryan replied, thank you, and I must say that the 8 of us together function as one being with purity of purpose. So each one of us has that Aryan in us. Beings of the 6th stage have recognized that Aryan. They've become him. Which is why when you reach the 6th stage, you have journeyed to such a high level that it opens the door to that final 7th stage of paradise, where most souls reach and stop. So 6th stage takes you to that. From 7th on, as I said, few venture forward. And he said, remember, at the 6th stage, the temple is the human body. And these monks, Cyrus says, represents the thoughts that govern the minds of beings of the 6th stage. As we can see, these are no ordinary monks, because they are practical, intellectual teachers. They are scholars and ambassadors that touch the lives of everyone in a deeply positive and enlightened manner. That's what beings of the 6th stage are. They are firmly anchored in the light of the Creator, and their thoughts and actions are shaped by service to the Creator and all creation, prayer and worship with an intellect-based definition of worship, ethics based on reason and understanding, purity through constant learning and refinement, teaching and sharing knowledge, and being a constant friend and helper and an ambassador of goodwill, spreading happiness and positivity, and being a spiritual anchor like the river that monk Aryan represents. So thus far we've explored the role of the temple and the monks. Now let's move to the final part, which is the chanting. What does the chanting of the monks symbolize? Let's consider the following. When monks chant, they do so in unison, representing unity and harmony. And remember, unity and harmony are really core principles of when we get to the 8th stage of the orchestra. That orchestra is pure unison, pure harmony. When monks chant, they do so in unison and harmony. She already at 6th stage reached that level of refinement. When they chant, they do so softly. They spread positive and peaceful energy that makes the listener at ease, feel at ease and happy. When they chant, they raise the vibrations of their own body and mind and emotions to such high levels that they invoke light. You've seen the dervishes who dance in unison and chant with the highest vibrations. They break down to tears and begin to experience the divine light in them. When Karima and I visit Istanbul, we like to go and visit this one hammam, one place where the dervishes get together, and this is not for show, this is not for tourism, this is actual ceremony. And there's very few of us who sit around them in the hammam. And we watch them start, and we join them, and we experience them. And as they get into that chant and that unison, you can see all of them with tears flowing through their eyes. And guess what? We feel that unison too. That's the power of the chant. Imagine at the sixth stage, you're living with that chant in you constantly. And that's a really beautiful goal to aspire towards. When monks chant, they project submission to the Creator, an ultimate expression of humility. And remember, humility was the anchor of stage 5. At the sixth stage, the chanting of the monks represents your pure and deeply spiritual inner voice. So when I reached the sixth stage and I heard the chants, this was the first time I was hearing my inner voice with immense clarity. First time ever, never happened before. There was absolute clarity and no doubt in what my inner voice said. My inner voice actually felt like a companion within me. And I was so much at peace that I didn't need another human being around me to feel complete, to feel validated. I was not lonely anymore from that day on, never been lonely. So the chanting of the monks resonates with this pure spiritual inner voice. My dear friends, we hear our inner voice at every stage, from the marketplace all the way to stage 6 and beyond. But it is soft and subtle, and we barely notice it. We shut it down if it tells us what we don't want to hear. If only we knew how pure and wise and knowledgeable our inner voice was, we would listen to it always and follow its counsel and never shut it down. I know of a young man who, many years ago, actually called off his wedding a few weeks before the wedding date. And he was explaining to me what happened. And he had met with his fiancée. There was only like 5 or 6 weeks left to his wedding. He had met with his fiancée a few weeks prior. They had gone on a holiday together. And then he drops her at the airport. And in those days, security wasn't like it is today. And as he sees her walking in, he hears the inner voice say, "Take a good look at her. You will never see her again." And he was like dismayed. He was saying, why is such a thought coming to me? I'm going to marry this girl. I love this girl. But he forgets all about it. And then as they come closer to the date, each time his inner voice keeps reminding him. Every time he talks about his wedding, he actually feels depressed rather than happy. People around him could notice it, but he was the only one, and it was his inner voice that was influencing even his state of mind, saying, this is not right. But he wouldn't listen. He was a bit thick. One day, he was woken up in the morning by this inner voice which says, you're about to make a big mistake. So the inner voice kept telling him nicely and gently, but now it became more clear, more forceful, because he had to be told that for a very good reason. And he said, what is this mistake? And then he went back to sleep and he saw like a movie of what was going to happen. And he could see him married to this love of his life. He even saw the children the two of them had. And she was absolutely miserable. He was absolutely miserable too. And when he saw this, that the vision was so clear, so the inner voice can sometimes even show you a vision if you're too dumb to listen to it. Showed him the vision. And he said, I can never do this to her, because miserable as she was, he felt that as much as he loved her, it was time for him to call it a day, because he would never want to put her through that. And he went ahead and he called off his wedding. And of course, sparks flew. He was very unpopular amongst his friends and everybody, but he called off his wedding. Families were broken. Families were upset, but marriage hadn't happened. Few months later, he met someone else who actually was his true soulmate. And he got married, and then they lived very happily after. And she met her soulmate, and she got married and lived very happily. And he could see, he was in touch with what was happening with her life, and he could see it with a smile and satisfaction that, you know what, hard as it was, I did the right thing. Why did his inner voice intervene so heavily? Because this man's purpose in life was to go a different direction. It was not meant to be in this direction. And he realized much later that his calling in life was so vast that that marriage would never have sustained his calling. So everybody ended up happy. He found a partner who could sustain with him and walk with him and be his equal in that calling. So inner voice speaks to us. We cannot shut it down. We have an excellent video on the power of inner voice on my YouTube channel and our website. Listen to it, because it covers a broad range and types of inner voice, which is why I'm not going to go into all this today, because you should go back and listen to it. But beings of the sixth stage have gained the ability to hear their inner voice with clarity, absolute clarity. And it has become a powerful tool in their service to others, their healing work, and more. As healers, their inner voice tells them what the root cause of sickness of the patient is. It tells them. And how to go about helping them. Because remember, it's an unselfish agenda, totally unselfish. People call it intuition or intuitive healing. Yes, that's true. But it's a lot more than that. It's a lot deeper than that. So what lessons can we take away today from the inner voice? I would say we must try to consciously tune into it and seek to listen to it. We need to have faith that it is not our mind playing tricks. If we want to draw upon its counsel, we have to dispel all skepticism and doubt. If you're skeptical and doubtful, you're not going to be able to tap into this beautiful part of you. Our inner voice brings to us the voice of unity and harmony. It brings positive and peaceful energy that makes us feel confident, at ease, and happy, because we know we are being constantly guided. It creates an elevated state of vibration of our body, mind, and emotions to such high levels that it can invoke light. And you can see that light. Remember, when you see that light is when you are ready to cross to the seventh stage of paradise. Inner voice is a key to seeing that too. Listen to it. It creates a state of submission to the Creator, an ultimate expression of humility. It offers wisdom and guidance for ourselves and for sharing with others for their benefit. Our inner voice provides a special companionship where we can never ever feel lonely again. You will never be lonely again. So my dear friends, we can all rise in our spiritual journey if we consciously live by our inner voice. Remember, your physical circumstances will come and go. Your terrible challenges will end. Death will come and a new life will follow. But your inner voice remains constant, unchanged, ever illuminating. It is not a voice of today and tomorrow. It is a voice of eternity. Harness it, embrace it, and grow with it, because it is with you for eternity. So with that, I'd like to conclude today's session on stage 6. And I must reiterate that regardless of what stage you may be at, take in the lessons of this stage, because they empower our journey. And accomplishing this stage takes us to stage 7, which is a stage of paradise. And this is where most souls, as I said earlier, stop in their journey. So stage 6 is the one that opens us to that level of paradise. We have to grow to that state. And of course, there are a few that will venture through stages 8, 9, and 10, the most difficult one being 8. And I pray that that should include all of us here today, and all those who are striving on the path of rising up the 10 stages. So I'd like to conclude today by thanking you all for joining us, bringing your positive energy, bringing your light to this webinar, bringing your being, and sharing your being with us all. I'd like to thank you, and I pray that the light of our Creator may always be with you, to help you, guide you, protect you, and love you. I had hoped that we would finish in 1 hour, and we are on the dot to 1 hour, so thanks to the Creator for that. Stay blessed, and in a month's time we will go through the 7th stage of paradise. But paradise is not what we all think it is. There's very different and unique dimensions to it, and we will explore that together in a month's time. Stay blessed.